Good day, everyone. My name is Shian Andog, and today I'll be discussing about functions of grading. Students interpret and are affected by grades. Some important influences include the level of feedback communicated in the grade about students' performance, whether grades are being used to compare students, how grades motivate students, and other factors than performance that should be included. One of the functions of grading is to provide feedback. So when the child or the student sees no comment, there is no information why the grade was earned. So the student therefore will be bewildered or disappointed. However, it is not feasible to give detailed comments on each assignment or test. Teachers must make many practical judgments to target for intensive feedback. Sometimes feedback can have a negative effect. Too much red ink, too vague. But in general, more detailed, individualized feedback has a positive effect on motivation. So students can make more accurate connections between how they prepared and their performance. Effective teachers learn to give students consistent, detailed, and useful feedback, taking practical constraints into account. Grading is also used to provide a basis of comparison to something. So there are three forms of comparison that influence the way grading decisions are made. So one is individual student reference, second is norm reference, and third is standards based. Now, the distinction boils down to the following question. When we assign grades, what exactly are we comparing? Are we comparing the students? Are we comparing their grades? Are we comparing their level of comprehension, their capacities, their potentials, their vulnerabilities, their profiles? You name it. The next thing you'll see, I've mentioned earlier about the three forms of comparison, right? So I'll just choose two. So I'll discuss that with a PowerPoint presentation to give you an in-depth understanding.
Now, the norm reference system of grading determines students' achievement of course goals in relation to other students in the course. An individual score is compared to that of a normative group. So in a normal bell-shaped curve, the smallest groups occur on either end of the distribution and are awarded A's and F's. So the largest group is the middle group, and those persons are assigned C's, while D's and B's are assigned to the next largest groups. If you concentrate solely on a normative distribution and grade on a curve, you are predetermining that a set percentage of students will receive a set grade, irrespective of the quality of their work. For example, deciding that 1/3 of the class will get C's on the midterm, even if they correctly answer over 90% of the questions. Students think of grading on a curve in a variety of ways. Students may say to you, "This grade doesn't seem fair. Can't you grade on the curve?" A good strategy for answering this is to ask students what they mean by curve. Typically, they don't mean a normal curve, since that would assign a preset percentage of them to D's and F's. Rather than, they are saying that you seem to have given too few A's and too many C's, and you should award more B's and A's to even out the grades. Now, the second example of a form of comparison is a standards-based grading, or SBG. It is a system of education which focuses on student learning and grades based on demonstrated understanding of specific concepts. So instead of a simple letter, students receive grades in multiple different learning targets and can see which concepts they've understood well and which they need to improve on. So standards-based grading provides explanations of the concepts and material that students should know at each point in their education. These are called learning standards, which provide a baseline that is consistent across all students at this education level. Teachers' instruction is guided by these standards, and they work to make sure their students learn all of the expected standards they need to before leaving their class. When students receive report cards, they receive a list of learning standards and a grade, normally on a 1 to 4 scale, on each standard of how well they mastered the material, okay? So explanation of SBG grading scale by the Arapaho Ridge Elementary. This is cited on the edelastic.com, Edelastic blog post by Naomi Shack in 2018. One is provides meaning to grades, so students understand why they receive each grade and the breakdown of how they did on each standard rather than receiving a vague letter with no explanation, as what I've said earlier. Second, keep students and teachers accountable with specific learning standards expected from the beginning of the class. Now the teacher knows what they are expected to teach. Third, better feedback for improvement. With grades broken up into different learning standards, students can immediately see which areas of learning they need to improve upon. So for example, if you're not that good when it comes to writing, or you're not that good when it comes to speaking. Fourth is provides information to differentiate instruction with learning standards common to the class and frequent. So the teacher knows which students are each level for each standard. Using this information, they can differentiate instruction and give different leveled assignments to different groups of students based on the proficiency level they are at. Fifth, students become more self-motivated. The "will this be graded" question is slowly replaced with earnest questions to better understand the material. And then the last one is track standards mastery. So with standards-based grading, teachers are able to focus their instruction and progress analysis around how students are mastering the content required for each standard. These are my references.